Hello and welcome to another episode of JIT Web Talks. And today we have a special guest, Myron, and we'll be discussing very interesting topics. But first, let's say hi to Myron. Hello there.
Hi, Alex. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. It's been a long journey together with you. We started working together back in 2013, I guess.
Yeah.
It's more than 10 years now. And since then, whoa, what an experience you have. And what a topic we have today to discuss with you about program management, product operations, project operations, and of course, AI, how we can not go with this, right? But first of all, let's start with you and please give us an intro about yourself and your background.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, as you mentioned, we've been on a similar path. We started off together in IT recruitment back in the day. And, that's when I actually learned about the world of IT. And the thing that interested me in particular was the role of a project manager. So, after that, I decided to give it a try and actually got a gig in the IT outsourcing world. And that's where I started my career. I basically, went to be an IT project manager in a couple of IT outsourcing companies and got a chance to really learn the ropes. At that time, agile project management was a big thing. So, I really dedicated myself to learning about that mindset and the tools and techniques to use in order to kind of, deliver projects in an agile way with an agile mindset, which really helped me then because as I moved to product companies, that really kind of helped my mindset as well. So, I spent a couple of years in the product companies as a project manager as well. I got a chance to lead the PMO team in the B2B scale up. So I've been doing that for a couple of years as well. But after that, I decided to focus on what is now called product operations, which is relatively new function on the market. It's mainly for the product companies, but I think there's a lot for us to discuss in terms of similarities of the mindsets when it comes to product operations and project managers and the shared skill set that they have. As well, I've been doing some consulting on the side. So, with the experience that I have now, I have been able to go into other companies and help them, build PMO offices like we did with you together in IT group. And also implement systems like Notion in order to help companies do software development and product development. So it's been an exciting journey so far.
Indeed, I can admit that we've been in many interesting projects and we went that far since then when we started collaborating with you. So it would be interesting to break down that a little bit. So I wanted to stop at the project management in outsourcing versus product management in product companies, right? So you have this experience. You started with ID companies that, like mine company, we provide outsourcing service business. It's like, we have a project, we have the main attributes of it, like the scope, the timeline,
Right.
and the level of quality or technical expectations, right? But what would be the difference? What you can admit, if you compare both worlds, product
Yeah,
and
sure.
outsourcing?
Yeah, so from my perspective, it comes down to for who are you working for? So in the outsourcing world, you're working for a client. So, your main focus is satisfaction of your client need. And in order to do that, you have to, make sure that you align with them in terms of what they want and kind of make sure that your requirements are good, make sure that you align on what you said, the scope, the cost, the quality, and you basically go into the execution mode. The main difference with the product companies and project management in product companies is that they're companies are mainly focusing on the users. So it's the client as well, but it is a user or customer in the B2B world. And there, the teams focus on solving a particular problem for those users or clients rather than just going and executing on the set of the requirements. I think, there's a lot of similarities when it comes to project management, but like that's the main difference. In the outsourcing company, you're going to work for the client, and if they tell you their requirements, you're going to agree on the scope, time, and quality, and you're going to execute. In the product world, you're mainly going to project manage in a way that you will satisfy the user or the customer need. So you will go into problem space first to understand really what is the problem you're trying to solve, And then based on that, you're going to figure out the requirements for the improvement of the feature that you want to deliver.
Gotcha. And like I've been delivering projects for quite a while, and just having this lined up, like the scope, budget, and the deliverables, is not always enough. This is what we daily discuss with our project management team. Like, is it enough just to pass it, like kind of fully ready website or an app to the client and say, yeah, it's done, just check requirements met, whatever is needed met, like just do your job. Or maybe we can incorporate something from that product world just to be even better in management.
Absolutely. I think this is a very important thing that I think any project manager needs to step up their game in, which is product mindset. So if you are in the outsourcing world and you're going to have a product driven mindset, I think you're going to become a better partner to your client when you're going to start asking them questions in terms of what problem are you trying to solve? What is the expected outcome? So, are you looking to build this website to generate leads, or are you looking to build this website to generate visits so you can then have ad revenue? So knowing the why behind the customer or client ask is important enough that a project manager can then go and collaborating with engineering, design, and other people within the company can shape up a solution that may be even better than what the customer or client requested. And when you get on that partnership level with the client, they start to appreciate it more because they know that you are actually focusing on what's important to them rather than just blindly delivering on a set of requirements. So this is why I say that establishing that product mindset is very important for the project managers all over the world right now. And I think that's the shift that I see happening with talking with my colleagues and the customers from the consulting. It's that shift from bluntly executing on requirements to actually delivering value for your clients, even in the outsourcing world.
I'm completely agree with you. This is exactly what every project manager needs to keep in mind. We're not just a liaison between the client and the tech team. We are those who are responsible for the success of this project as well. So having this in mind, asking those questions you mentioned, like why we are building this, why do you need this for your business? You can shape the task in that particular way that would help to achieve the result even faster. It's not talking about just the requirement itself, but also the stakeholders you're dealing with. So project managers, they're responsible not only for them and for development team, but also they need to make sure that all other aspects of this project are met. Like either it's a content team, right? Or maybe it's a SEO structure of the website. Just make sure it goes into the right direction, and you have to push even other stakeholders that are responsible for them just to make sure everything is lined up before the marketing campaign starts, before the app goes to the store or whatever the need of the business.
Yeah, I can add to that the holy triangle that you talked about in the beginning, the quality, the cost, and the scope. That's still the same when you go to the product companies and you're in the role of a project manager. But those definitions of the scope, cost, and quality, they are discussed and defined internally because companies usually don't have all the money in the world to go and do whatever they want. It's still an investment type of strategy when they go and build features or improvements for their products. So, based on the research that they are doing and based on the user insights that they're getting, they still want a time box, how much time we want to dedicate to try to build this feature, how much we want to spend in terms of cost, and then there's the whole area of dependencies. And in product companies, dependencies is a big thing because usually products have a lot of areas, a lot of modules, a lot of teams spent out in the company. And as a project or a program manager in the product company, that's going to be a big part of your job. So you're still going to manage the quality, the cost, and scope, but your stakeholders are internal. And you think about it as an investment strategy. So usually product companies go into these agile ways of software development using sprints or iterations, and they can time box themselves and say, okay, let's invest, for example, 6 weeks for building this thing, then release it, check whether it actually satisfies our expectations or hypotheses. And if not, well, either let's invest again, but then you would have to present a very good case to your leadership of why you should invest money again, or maybe kill it, which is, which should be the right approach if you're not meeting expectations.
Yeah, nice. Well, taking best from both worlds, right? In this case, we can just interchange those techniques. Like if you're on a product management side, just treat your stakeholder as the most valuable client within the scope, budget, and quality, right? But when in your outsourcing business, when you have a client yourself, right? So partner up, set up that mindset, and just find out what is needed for the users for the positive outcome of this project.
Absolutely.
Well, that's really great, Myron. I mean, I really like your vision. This is like something why we started working with you back then. And you mentioned something interesting as well. Like it's a project operations. There is some kind of new direction, right? Or a new type of the role we can identify right now.
Mm.
So maybe you can tell us a little more, like what's your experience by far?
Sure. Yeah. So product operations is a relatively new function on the market. As any operations team, it came because there's a constant need for organizations to bring some sort of a structure to the way that they work. Any team or any company in the world has already done product operations since product companies existed, but they just didn't have a name for it. So there's a lot of basically product leaders that are vouching for having product operations in the companies because those are the people that gonna take care of the way that your product organization operates, the way that they deliver results and outcomes, and focus them on what's important and making sure that that product organization is executing to the best of their abilities. So I got interested in the topic while I was still managing the PMO for this B2B scale up. And the reason I got interested in that is because it is a very good combination of both worlds. It's product mindset and project management skills. So essentially, what product operations tries to solve is basically making sure that an organization delivers outcomes rather than outputs. And they do this by using a wide range of methodologies and tools and processes. But essentially, what you're trying to do is trying to make sure that your product organization is focusing on delivering what's really important, which is business outcomes. And here I'm talking about things like revenue and things like churn and customer satisfaction. So all of those are things that companies look for when they talk about success. They don't look to see how many features did we deliver in the last quarter, because delivering a feature does not mean that it's going to improve your business or going to lead your business to success. So you really need to be careful around metrics that you set for the team, and this is also something that product operations helps you understand, and also making sure not to fall into that trap of being a feature factory, constantly building features, releasing them, and having no outcomes of that at all.
And Myron, and let's be more practical in this case, right? So it's something new, or as you say, no, it's not something new, right? It was this type of role was created, or it's been always, it just was not identified separately since the product management exists, right? So just to give us an example, like what's your typical project management tasks, right? This is task for specifically project or program manager. And here is project operations, like what you would do, what the task you would get.
Yeah, it depends also what setup are you in, because some product companies still have a PMO or a unit of a project or program managers and product operations, and they do have some areas where they share responsibilities and overlap, but usually they also collaborate very nicely. So the type of tasks or the type of activities that I would focus on in a product operations role would kind of be split it in three main categories. So the first one is going to be about how do we operate, meaning Are we planning our roadmaps on a quarterly basis or maybe on a half year basis? What is our cadence when it comes to reviewing and adjusting those roadmaps? Are we doing OKRs or any other method of making sure the company has a goal and your teams are getting high level goals from the strategy and the vision of the company? So making sure that happens and making sure that process runs smoothly. Then we're going to go to the level of user and customer insights. Any product company needs to make sure that they listen to their users the same way that in outsourcing you need to listen to your client and really understand their needs. And the product, it's all about user insights and the feedback loop. So we need to make sure there is a system in place where we can gather all those feedback points and all those things from our users, what they want, what they like, what they don't like, and transform them into something from which we can drive our roadmap forward and make decisions and prioritize based upon. Yeah, and kind of the third bucket is based on the data and the insights when it comes to metrics and measuring the outcomes. So also, collaborating and making sure that there's a system in place where we can track how our features or improvements that we release to the product, how they are performing, and making sure that the whole backbone of that is laid out and everything is working as expected. And your product managers and your product teams have instant access to the data when they need to. So those are the three buckets. And as you can see, this is why I'm telling that tasks of product operations have been there since the beginning. It was just the matter of who was doing them. And most of the times they were split between different people. There would be a data team that would, or data lead that would take care of something. There would be maybe a senior product manager that would help the VP of product decide how do we do roadmaps. And there would be maybe a customer success team that would generally be responsible for providing insights into the user feedback. So now creating this function of product operations as a separate unit helps organizations unload all that work from all those people and have a team that's solely focused on that, which then helps all the rest of the people do their job and what they were hired to do. Product managers do product management. VP of product mainly works on the strategy and the vision. For me, this is why it's exciting. And this is why I say that there's a lot of potential for people that are currently in project management to go into product operations, because you will need a lot of skill set.
What is the skill set you would need actually just to transfer to this particular role and be focused only on project operations?
So I would definitely point out, a role of a facilitator whenever you're going to be working on a process or you're going to be working with teams. You need to be able to bring people together and have them collaborate in order to achieve a particular outcome. So a facilitator role is very important, and the skill set is very important. General organizational and project management skills in terms of planning, continuously updating your plan, reacting to changes when necessary, having all the skill set that comes with the spreadsheets or Jira or systems like Notion or systems dedicated to manage the roadmap like Product Board is also essential. Documentation is also a big part of it, because if you think about it, anything that you're going to create in terms of process or new ways of working for the company, you can't just go ahead, have a call and be like, hey, this is how we're going to do things from now on. Let's go do it. You have to have some documentation in place. And again, that needs to be updated. So being able to articulate and document all the guidelines and process clearly is also very, very important. So I think there's a lot of overlap with project management.
Myron, talking about tools, you mentioned some of those, but I cannot just not to bring this topic, a very popular one, AI, in terms of how we can incorporate, how we can utilize AI tools in the role of the project manager or project operations, right? So maybe you can already give some insights of like what you are using in terms of AI, and yes, the vision, how far we can go with those.
Everybody is afraid for their job right now with the AI being on the rise, huh? No, I think
Will be substituted, what do you think, our project management job?
no, I think we're safe, but I think the important thing is to take that as another tool and use it to step up your game even more. So when it comes to AI and other tools on the market, I would definitely point out a couple of automation platforms, because In my role in product operations, a lot of times I'm focusing on streamlining something, streamlining the process, or streamlining or bringing transparency to another level when it comes to the roadmaps and how the company sees them. In those tasks, what's important and what helps a lot is automating them, because usually they would be done manually. You would write reports manually, you would go and have calls and all that other stuff. So automating them is essential. And I can point out a couple of platforms that I'm using, which is Zapier, make.com, and N8N, which has been amazing. And there's so much potential, so much opportunity, and also untapped potential in those tools that is just crazy. They are fairly low level in terms of getting into them, so any person can go on YouTube and watch a couple of videos and then go and try to do it. And I think they're fairly low entry level when you want to get into them. And then when we're talking AI, learning how to do prompting is very important for project managers right now, not only for writing reports or like PRD documents or requirement documents, but when we're talking about automation, you can utilize, for example, ChatGPT API, do what you want it to do. But in order for it to be fairly high quality, you need to be able to write good prompts. So I think that's one of the skills that in project management and product operations people need to develop in order to have good outcomes when it comes to AI. And then the market is full of other tools, AI based tools that help greatly when it comes to product operations. One of my favorite ones are based around the fact that we can now automatically gather insights or user feedback from different sources like Chrome web stores, like public forums, and all the other places like Zendesk tickets, and then using AI generate valuable insights with which you can talk with that data. So you can go ahead and provide your product managers with ability to go into a Slack channel, type a question in terms of like, what is the last feedback on this feature X? And AI is going to take the data, generate a good response, a good insight for you, and you're going to have it in a matter of seconds, which would usually take you hours. You would have to go and manually look for feedback related to a feature in, I don't know, a huge database. So I think that there's a lot of untapped potential. And then when it comes to project management, anything to do with scenario planning, capacity planning, timeline planning of the projects, evaluating risks, I think there's so much potential of right now identifying risks early, identifying dependencies early, and then bubbling this up and raising red flags when necessary. Yeah, I think anybody needs to take AI as a tool, because anybody that knows how to use it in a good way and bring better results is going to definitely be higher on the list when it comes to looking for jobs.
Sure. And you know what I've noticed myself, that everyone is talking about this, like you must use AI, right? But I suspect a potential pitfall there, right? So everyone is trying to put AI tools, automation, wherever it's not needed even, right? So how we can approach it in a better way, like
Yeah.
what comes first?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, I think there's a lot of fear of missing out going along right now in all the companies and all the levels and all the teams. Like AI just needs to be there, or you're gonna be forgotten, or your company is gonna stop existing. But I think you're right. Sometimes you just need to make sure that it's gonna work rather than forcefully plug it in just so it's there. And I think that goes back to the product mindset I was talking about, where you need to do proper discovery work to really understand whether an AI based feature or improvement is really necessary. I mean, of course, it can be interesting, it can be fun to do for engineers and the company, but is it actually necessary? Is it actually going to bring your product to another level? Is it going to open up another market for you? So I think things like that need to be evaluated first before you go all in and start plugging in AI everywhere.
Yeah, Myron. I would add here, just I recently read it about this approach. browsing LinkedIn a lot. Everyone is talking about that. But there are three ground rules you have to use before you would like to utilize AI into a project or daily work, business, whatever. The first one is identify a problem. Not try to use it whenever it's not needed. Just what is not working like you expect, or maybe there is too manual work or something. Identify where it can actually help you, right? After that, make it simple. That's the second rule. Don't try to make very sophisticated automation that would be possible to broke at some point, but just try with some simple things, right? Just as you mentioned, generating tickets, maybe summarization, forecasting, and getting feedback about your product from different sources. That's exactly what you need. Just a small optimization here and there would definitely make a change. And finally, of course, human control. You know, Even though it's very cool things that is happening with AI and the industrial world, but still, as you say, we won't be substituted for at least for now, because we still need to control that. Make sure it works properly. There are no mistakes. Yeah, and
Yeah, there's
with this
a big
human touch for sure.
there is a big risk when it comes to evaluating the quality of the results of the AI. I can definitely, add to that, because whenever you're trying to work on an automation using AI, that will need to plug out some sort of result that you will base your decision upon. You better double check that data. And there are definitely ways of doing that, and especially if you're actually involved in writing and creating the models, you can start with kind of creating a set of evaluation questions or rules that will help you then evaluate whether the model did a good job or not. So because there's things like hallucinations in AI and stuff like that, so we need to be careful, but at the same time, this is where the world will move toward, and this is, I think, where a lot of innovation in the space is going to happen. So we need to embrace it, rather than try to deny it.
Nice said, Myron. And still, there are plenty of businesses that hear about automations, hear about best approaches, but I kind of see that they still lack in something. There is a certain gap between understanding the process and utilizing the process. So a lot of companies need a consultation, I suppose. This is where I would like to shift your personal direction of your business, right? So how companies can benefit working with such people like you just to enter this industry, to enter, learn about AI. As you say, it's easy, right? But still, making the first step sometimes is hard. So how can you help them, and what the problems they can solve having you on board as a, let's say, fractional project manager?
Absolutely. Most of the companies that I work with when it comes to consultancy come to me in a point in their journey where they are not as small as they started out, which is usually around, I don't know, 10, 20 people, but they're not still as big as they want to. So they are in this kind of limbo state between a startup that just started, and then where they want to go, which is usually a scale up, so a bigger organization. And there are just a range of problems for those kind of companies, which are very, very similar when you compare companies. Sometimes it's just like copy paste. I would go to one company, try to understand what they want, and it's usually based around the team structure and how we should set up teams. What kind of tool should we use for project management and delivering the work? What kind of methodology should we use for discovery and delivery, if we're talking about product company or just delivery overall? And how do we deal with capacity? How do we know, should we plan 75% of our time for features and maybe 10 for technical depth and maybe something else for keeping the lights on, or should that be another way around? And how do we visualize that? How do we make decisions? How do we prioritize? And those problems are very, very often seen at that level. And usually I would go to one company and then after a couple of months would go to another, and the set of problems would be really the same. So, but every company gives me an opportunity to learn more, and especially the fact that I can go and work within different industries. I worked in UX and design, and I worked with enterprise, file storage and medtech and AI startups. The fact that I can go and experience that, well, range of industries and the problems they have is really what excites me. And then also kind of helping them and then seeing them, go to another level, and how the results that they expected is really, really satisfying. This is why, consulting is still a big part of my life.
And you know what I heard, that you mentioned Notion a few times, right? And also, like, it's getting very popular as well, this management tool. And what I also heard, Myron, that you became a top creator, on
I did.
no, so you just wanted to you to tell more about this particular tool, your experience with it, what problems it can solve.
Yeah, it's my journey with Notion has been exciting. I started using it a while ago, just personally. I like to see what's out there. I like to try new tools. And then, especially because of my project management background, I also am on the lookout for the new project management tools and see what companies come up with. And at the time, I used it for a little bit for my personal notes and like for the daily life outside of work. And it worked wonders. And then I started seeing all these templates pop up. So people would actually go create a template, and now Notion has a huge marketplace with thousands of templates for anything. You name it. Habit tracker, the full blown second brain operation system where you have the structure to set up your life and track your life, to, the templates for things like software delivery and project management and product management. And I remember being very excited to see that, and wanted to try that out. So I started building a couple of templates for product managers and started putting it out there for free. Didn't expect any monetary gain from it at all. So it was just me trying things. I was really enjoying that. And yeah, I think like a couple of years ago, I received notification that I got a top creator badge on the Notion marketplace. And I went there and I saw thousands of downloads of my templates, which was very surprising to me, but at the same time, very fulfilling. And that's where I also discovered that Notion has become to grow when it comes to it being a solution, a project management and software delivery solution for companies. And through my consultancy, I saw that there was a need for people to come in and implement that tool. And yeah, I think Notion is a great tool right now that checks a lot of boxes for a lot of companies. But obviously, the big question is going to be, how does it compare to Jira?
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you, because, like, should we shift our processes and management from Jira to Notion, or what would you recommend for the
Right.
start?
Yeah, like this is one of the first questions when a company tries to decide on a tool, Jira versus Notion. And usually my response is a very engineering response, which is, it depends. It depends on the size of your company, what are you trying to do, and what problems are you trying to solve when implementing a tool like that. Usually, I would recommend Jira for more mature companies, or companies that have already came to the point where um, there's a lot of things going on, and the scale starts to get bigger. Also, for the companies that need to be compliant with a lot of sorts of like SOC 2 compliance or ISO compliance. When we start talking about scaling up engineering and automating and connecting it to like CI or CD tools, continuous integration or delivery, like that's where I would recommend Jira. It's a more mature tool. It's for more complex projects or product companies setup. It does offer you customization, but the learning curve is going to be much steeper for Jira, and you would definitely, at a certain scale, you would start to need an admin that would really kind of make sure everything works in Jira, and nothing breaks if somebody makes a change. So I think it's a sophisticated tool. I've been using Jira for over a decade now. It's still my favorite tool when it comes to like going into a company and working with the company at my level. But Notion is a very close second right now because of the fact that the company have been building Notion using what we talked about. They are using a product mindset. They are focusing on the outcomes, and they are constantly catching up to the market and becoming a leader, and they are capturing you with all these updates and new features and the visual representation and the capabilities. It's just impossible to avoid it. But I would definitely recommend starting off with Notion for smaller companies, startups, seeing how it goes. Maybe at a certain scale, it's going to start to be a problem and you want to switch to Jira, but the switch can be very seamless because you can export stuff. So yeah, that would be my answer. But yeah, I would recommend for anybody looking for a project management tool, go check out Notion first.
Nice, Myron, and Notion enthusiast, and really nice case just to separately we discuss about Notion product and how they approach the market. Really outstanding, Myron. And at the end of our conversation, I would like to get back to the roots where we started, and we started what you selected this role back then, like more than 10 years ago, like project management. You were fascinated about this somehow, but after those years, could you tell us the most fascinating thing right now for you being as a product manager or project manager? What excites you the most?
Yeah, it's still the same thing that excited me when I first learned about project management back in the day, which is solving problems by collaborating with people. It basically incorporates everything that I like. I think you cannot do anything without people. You have to have a collaboration in place. You have to work together. Very rarely you can solve problems on your own. And bringing people together and working on the problem is something that I just enjoy doing. And then overall, solving problems is another thing that I always look for. I'm known for loving the chaos and organizing the chaos. And in project management, you have a lot of that. Same in product operations, right? So those are the similarities that still excite me when it comes to either project management or product operations that has been there from day one when I learned about project management back in the day.
Nice. Thanks, Myron. And what a great discussion we had today with you. I personally wish you not to stop, keep evolving in this industry and be an industry leader, Myron, as you really drive the changes. So really happy having you here today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alex. Thanks for the discussion.
All right. So that's it. We'll catch up on the next episode. Thanks a lot, everyone, for listening.